This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
And Jesse M is asking which musician who died young, if you would change their fate and they were to live, would you choose? That is the easiest question I'm ever asked, and that is Jimi Hendrix. Good morning, Alain Poupart. Who's the musician?
Who's Jimi Hendrix? Who's Jimi Hendrix?
For you also?
No.
Young, he said. Died young.
Okay. Off the top of my head, Kurt Cobain, maybe.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. If Kurt Cobain happens, does Foo Fighter ever happen?
That's a great question. I kind of get the feeling it would. I kind of
think Dave Grohl had to grow. Right. He had to. Yeah, huh?
At some point, he's just too insanely talented, and it's funny because
maybe too sane to stay with the insanely talented, but also kind of insane Kurt Cobain too. So he might have, you know what? He might have tired of the act after a while. Probably, yes. You're right.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I saw a recent interview with him where he talked about like how introverted he was when he first got into music and all that. And he's so not. I mean, he's one of my favorite just in terms of his personality, and not only the fact that he's incredibly talented too. So
he's the most likable rock star on the planet.
He's completely
by
awesome.
miles.
Yeah.
By miles. And there's no other guy that you see and you say, I want to hang with that dude. Mm-hmm. And like you feel like 100% that he's going to be like super freaking cool, you know? And it's did you see a documentary Sound Something or whatever, the one that he that it's about the recording studio in LA, and he kind of he even saved the board and everything. He has it in his own studio. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that yet?
No, but I'll have to check it out. That's I have that.
Yes, you have to check it out because it's a recording studio that everybody recorded there. You name it. The amount of it was on Sunset. I forgot the damn name of somebody help me out there. I know one of you have watched that thing. I've watched it a couple times now, and that is one of the great documentaries, dude. You definitely want to watch it.
No, and his interaction with the young girl drummer like a couple of years back was completely insane. I mean, it was so effing cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually really cool. If I remember the name, I'll tell you guys out there, but it's Sunset Records. Is that what it's called, dude? 67? No. I don't think it's Sunset Records. It's called something else. It's a studio, and I forgot the damn name of it, but either way. All right, let's get to it. First of all, your thoughts on the Super Bowl, because I know you were going back and forth on it on Twitter. So the way the game ended and the way the position that the referee was put in.
No, that's tough. But to me, I can't help but go back to the first half play, the third down where Smith-Schuster's running over the middle and the guy tugs his jersey, turns him around a little bit. There's no flag. Okay, if you're not calling it, then for Christ's sake, don't be calling it on 3rd and 8 with a minute and a half left. And spare me the whole, well, he did grab his jersey. Yeah, I get it. Guess what? There was one defensive holding penalty, accepted or declined, called the entire game. That was it. Are you expecting anybody to believe that that's the only time that there was a tug on a jersey? Come on.
No, well, there were 2 tugs, by the way. It's 2 holds. That's probably
the same play, correct? But that was the only play the entire game there was where a defensive back was holding. Come on.
I get it, but you put the guy in a position where, and everybody's seeing it, and there's 2 holds on that play, not just one, and so that's where you kind of put yourself in a position for him to call it. And then when he calls it, don't get mad that it happens. You know, it's I put it akin to, well, okay, listen. It's 65, the speed limit. Everybody's driving around 70, 72, 73, and they don't stop you. But this day, there's a guy on the side of the road and he wants to stop you at 73, 74, and then you put him in a position where he can make that decision if he felt like it or not. And there you go.
Both can be true.
You can't tell the cop, but hey, everybody else is doing it. Yeah, but you are speeding, right? Correct. And you're like, yeah. And well, there you go. Here's your ticket. And I think that's kind of it, that you put the referee in that position. So if he makes the call, then you can't blame him because it clearly was a penalty. Two penalties.
But both can be true. It can be true. It can be true. Right. And the infuriating part, if you're an Eagles fan, and for record, for transparency's sake, I have no dog in the fight. I would have preferred seeing Philadelphia win because I have friends who work for the Eagles. Not only that, I'm tired of the Chiefs, even though I respect the hell out of what they're doing. The infuriating part for them, it was the same motion inside, go back outside, where they got the 2 touchdowns where the guys are open by 10 yards inside the 5-yard line. It's like, I mean, how many times were they going to get smoked by that play? So to me, it's a case again of Darius Slay was sloppy on the play and put himself in the position to get called. But the official, again, to me, that's a flag. That's a flag you eat.
And by the way, you're talking about the 2 guys that we were with at Larius eating the Italian food a couple of years back.
There's 2 of them and another one. Yeah, yes, they're good dudes. They're good dudes, good friends of mine, and
they're really good dudes. Yeah, they're really good dudes. Yeah. And by the way, we got to hit that Italian place this year. We haven't hit that Italian place the last couple. Well, I haven't been there in the last. You haven't been there. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I know we're gonna hit the Irish bar for the Panther game. But we gotta hit Laria's, bro. I haven't been to Laria's in a while. Good, a nice, good, solid Italian meal, and by the way, a very reasonable price too. They don't rip you off at that place too. That's the other thing. If you ever go to Indianapolis, folks, there's a place called Laria's. It's just outside of downtown, like 2 miles outside of downtown. But it's just a short Uber drive and well worth it if you ever go to Indy. Just saying. So I get it, man. I'm with you there. I by the way, I did not realize they corrected me here because I thought Fangio went to help out the defense. I didn't know that he was helping out the offense. I didn't even realize that. I didn't even look into it that much. Did you realize that he was helping out the offense?
Yeah, I've gotten conflicting reports on this. I think one of the guys, I think Rappaport might have reported that he was helping out the offense, which is kind of weird to me because how much studying of the defense would he have done? I know he was the head coach with the Broncos for 3 years, but as a defensive guy, I would think his area of expertise would be more trying to help out stopping the Kansas City offense. I mean, that was kind of weird to me. But like I said,
I'm busting balls here to have some fun. Dolphin fans would have been livid the day after. Well, his defense didn't get any pressure on Mahomes. No sacks. They would be bitching right now about it with no sacks. I'm just saying. I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay.
No, that's like Cardinals fans are like, I don't want Jonathan Gannon now. They got Eagles defense got smoked by Mahomes. I don't want him anymore.
Right. Which is and it really, Mahomes did his thing, but the whole team did its thing. Defense scored, special teams gave you practically a touchdown with a run back to the 5-yard line. So that's the other thing that we have to look at. That entire team contributed to that win. It wasn't just personally for me, dude. The MVP was the offensive line, really, not Mahomes. I get it because of the dramatic high ankle, all that stuff. Hell, when he ran up the middle of the field with that high ankle injury, he was pulling away from guys. Shows you how much adrenaline was carrying his ass. But I'm not going to take anything away. The most important factor to that game was those 5 guys up front. Not one sack, dude. That's impressive.
Not a whole lot of pressure. I looked at the game book. It said 5 quarterback hits by the Eagles, and I'm like scratching my head to think where. I don't recall Mahomes being hit very much. And he did say there was a clip of him like in the locker room after the game saying like number 7, that's Hassan Reddick, was chasing me all night. I thought he was going to get me at some point. I'm like, did I miss something? I didn't.
Right.
I didn't see that pressure. And it also illustrates what a huge difference, and props to Kansas City, because in their previous Super Bowl appearance, their offensive line got absolutely annihilated by the Bucs, and they completely revamped the hell out of it. The only remaining starter is Andrew Wiley.
Right.
And that team just nailed. They hit like Trey Smith in the draft, who was a guy who had injury concerns, and Creed Humphrey, who people kind of knew that's the guy I had my eye on for the Dolphins. They didn't get Trey Smith, had injury concerns. Those aren't panning out, and those guys are like ballers. And then they got Orlando Brown because he wanted to play left tackle, and the Ravens already had Ronnie Stanley.
Yeah, no, that was an absolute monster makeover of that line, and they fixed that thing quickly, and they were just absolutely awesome. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up, that whole thing with, and again, nothing against Fangio or anything. I'm glad he's here for the Dolphins, but it's just kind of funny that they couldn't get a sack on him, and I'm sure he had to have also assisted on the defensive side. All right. It looks like when will we hear the official hiring? And then now we're hearing about Tom Donatel too. What are you hearing about that interview also taking place?
Well, my feeling right now, and this is something that is not unusual, is you're not going to get piecemeal announcements of hirings. I think they're going to wait until they have the whole staff finalized. Like Fangio's on board now. Now he's got to fill out. He needs an outside linebackers coach. Assistant linebackers coach was fired. They're down to one DB coach, who's Sam Madison, who, by the way, was on the Kansas City Chiefs staff last year and wanted to come home to South Florida, but missed out on the Super Bowl. So they have to hire those guys. And then, Tom Donatel makes perfect sense because he's the son of a longtime Vic Fangio colleague, Ed Donatel, it wouldn't surprise me if he also came on board. We would have a father and son combination, because he was with him at 3 different stops. He was the DC in Minnesota last year, was fired. So now he's available. And I looked at that 2021 Denver Broncos staff when Fangio was the head coach. And 2 of the assistants were John Pagano, who was an outside linebackers coach, the brother of Chuck Pagano, who was not employed in 2022. He could be a logical addition. Same as Reggie Herring, who was with Fangio way back when at one of his earlier stops, rejoined him in Denver. That's a former Florida State linebacker. So wouldn't surprise, because, again, they had an opening at assistant linebackers and outside linebackers. So those could be those 2 guys. Donatel could be one of your DB coaches. Ed Donatel could be, if he does come on board, like a senior defensive assistant, that type of thing. And so I would think, again, they're going to wait till everything's finalized and then announce all the coaching staff changes.
Tua, what'd you think of the farce that was the Super Bowl week interviews? Because it was embarrassing, to be quite honest. It was lame.
Dude, he's getting cash to be flown out first class in Arizona to pump up the subway. What was it?
No, his bank account did well, but I'm just saying the interviews themselves were terrible. Quite honestly, they really did not do him any justice. But let's get into the meat of the matter of all of that. There was a report that was, they're holding him up, but if the Dolphins win and advance in the playoffs, he might be ready to play. Well, he kind of exposed that I think it was a Schefter report, that report was not accurate, because they never even put him into the protocol till after the season ended. So they had 0 intentions ever of playing him again this year. He was never, ever going to see the field. So those reports of, if they advance, you could see, Tua, that was definitely not accurate.
Well, I didn't see that, but they did put him in the protocol. I mean, they literally put him in the protocol the day after the Green Bay game.
After the season was over. He said it.
But he had already been in the protocol. I don't understand what that means. He was in the protocol.
He didn't enter the protocol till after the season was over.
Then you're saying that Mike McDaniel flat out lied to us. They said he told us literally the day after the Green Bay game that Tua had been placed in the concussion protocol.
They lied
literally
to you.
Said that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tua said it himself in the interviews that he was put. Am I right? Oh, Sean just left. But yeah, he was put into protocol after the season ended. So the Dolphins
I didn't hear that.
Plans. Yeah, I mean, in fact,
he did like 7 different interviews, and it's possible he may have said different things all over the place. He basically hinted that, like on the LeBatard interview, that he could have played in the Pro Bowl, but didn't want to because he didn't feel right for this first football activity to be the Pro Bowl instead of something with the Dolphins. So that he's hinting there that, yeah, he could have been ready to play, like had the Dolphins made a deep playoff run. So,
but it's kind of weird that they didn't start the protocol till the season ended. That's why it took so long for the whole thing. So really, while he was look, I'll even let me see. Barry Jackson actually, I think, put it in his article also, and I'm gonna read it off of Barry's article here. Here we go. Here's Barry's article. Maybe later. For concussion protocol, I think the team did the biggest service throughout that they never allowed me to go through protocol normally until the season was done. So that's why it might have seemed like it took forever, but they were just protecting me from myself.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he wasn't in protocol. That means that they weren't moving him along in the protocol. That is what that could mean.
But he said they never allowed me to go through protocol normally until the season was done.
Correct, but the protocol involves like 5 steps. What he's saying, I would surmise, is that
the part for you to pass to be cleared,
correct,
they didn't start doing it till after the season was done. So my point is that the reports were wrong.
That they shut him down. What reports?
The reports were wrong. Like, well, if the Dolphins advanced, there was never a plan to play him ever at all.
No, they shut him down after the Green Bay concussion. They were shutting him down.
They shut him down. Yeah. Exactly.
Which makes sense.
He was saying that they protected. I thought that was actually, to me, that's what I had heard, that he was done. And I told everybody there's a plan in place. And from the get-go, they've been talking about there's a plan. I took judo, by the way, for a few years. And judo, the one thing that has always stuck with me is falling. And it's one of the things that in judo they teach you is that to learn how to fall, to brace your fall, to break your fall. So when he said that, I know it sounded foreign to a lot of people, especially if you've never taken judo before, but it's part of your lessons. And so your thoughts on those kind of things that they're trying.
I don't want to overblow that because and I get it, and I've never taken judo, but I've done some wrestling and all that, and it's like, that's all great and dandy if you have like a chance to kind of brace yourself. When you're in the pocket and you got a 300-pound guy who's going to ragdoll you, I don't think that Tua is going to be able to apply the lessons he's learned in judo to be like, okay, I got to fall like this. So I don't.
Right.
I wouldn't want to overblow that. To me, the bigger issue, and
but it will help you in certain falls, not every fall, because you're going to get some. In fact, the last one wouldn't have helped you. Okay, the one where he got tripped up and landed on his back.
Well, certainly not the one against Cincinnati, because you just got ragdolled. And here's the thing with Tua, and unfortunately, I don't know how that's ever going to happen. Is he's always going to be vulnerable to getting that kind of whiplash play because he's just not big.
Right.
And he's not thick either. So This is why, and again, I'm going to go back to the same thing. The 2 plays where he had the official concussions, he had plenty of time. These were not normal plays. This is him hanging onto the ball too long. Stop doing that. You're going to reduce your risk by 70%. And then, if you can save another 10%, with the judo, the things you learn in judo, now you're up to 80%, and then you're basically left with really, really fluky stuff.
which is what everybody's at. Everybody has that flukiness that you could be out. But I agree with you 100%, and that's what I've said for a long time. His bigger problem, more than anything else, has always been hanging on to the ball. That's what's brought on all these big-time injuries. If he gets rid of the ball and makes quick decisions, there's no way that you're going to,
No, and the other thing too is there are other guys, and I can see like the counter argument. Well, you're going to like waste plays. Okay, that's fine. But Josh Allen can get away with that because he's huge. Patrick Mahomes can get away with that because he's insanely quick in the pocket. Lamar Jackson because he can outrun people. Tua's game is precision, timing, accuracy, and all that. It's not like great, pure physical, natural skills.
No, it's the same thing as Peyton Manning, actually. Same thing, except Peyton's bigger, so he can take more hits for it overall, but he plays the same way.
Correct.
Precision, make quick decisions, get rid of the football. Peyton wasn't going to take extra hits either. He was going to get rid of the damn football right away, and that's all he is. He's a smaller version of it, and he's got to learn to play the same way some of those statues that have played in this game. Like I've said, Marino's bust and Peyton Manning's bust, they move just as fast as those guys. And they're in the Hall of Fame, bro.
Correct.
So, you can make it in the Hall of Fame at a snail's pace. Just make sure you make quick decisions. That's it. And you'll live.
Tua said it himself last year. It is like his natural tendency is to try to make something happen like all the time. Well, he's got to keep fighting that within himself. And the Dolphin coaches have to keep pounding it into him. Dude, your health and staying healthy is more important than that particular 3rd and 10. And if we have to punt, then we punt. I mean.
Right. Yep. By the way, Brian nailed it earlier in our interview. I just didn't want to keep going with it, but we're on the back end of it. Sound City is the name of the documentary. So look it up. And, oh, brother, it is going to be one of the most enjoyable 90 minutes, 2 hours of your life, and educational. Everybody, bro. Fleetwood Mac, Elton John, Led Zeppelin, what you name it. Everybody recorded. The Eagles. Everybody recorded like a legendary album there. I think Rumors was recorded there in Sound City and shit. Like it's just you'll see when you watch that, you're gonna go, holy shit! And he took the soundboard with him, because they were going out of business because digital has taken them out of business. Mm-hmm. They'll talk about the whole story about all of that. And so he wanted to maintain the soundboard because that soundboard had produced so many amazing albums. And so he took the soundboard out of Sound City and put it in his studio now. So his personal studio has like that legendary board that has recorded album after album. It's well worth it. Before I let you go, what are the Dolphins' next moves here that we're expecting over the next couple of weeks here heading into free agency?
You mean besides finalizing the coaching staff?
Of course.
I would expect very sooner rather than later a Christian Wilkins extension. The restructurings, there might be restructurings already done that those they don't announce unless they involve an extension of some sort. But I can certainly see some of those. And I think you could see a couple of, guys getting released as well. I think Jerome Baker's vulnerable. I think Byron Jones very obviously is vulnerable. But I think number one, because the thing the Dolphins have to do internally is to do the self-scouting and go look at all their 27, I think it is, on unrestricted free agents. Okay, which guys are we bringing back? Which guys are we cool with letting go? That's priority number one. And once they do that, and they're going to go about like maybe re-signing, I would think they're going to maybe re-sign some of those guys, before free agency starts March 15th. It's interesting. Raheem Mostert did the rounds too at the Super Bowl, and I actually wrote a story about it. And the way he talked, he was talking like he's a pending free agent. In a month, he technically doesn't have a team. And the way he was talking is we moving forward, what we got to do and all that. I mean, Tua's our guy. I mean, it was pure. He was pure. He's staying with the Miami Dolphins. And if you know the relationship that he and Mike McDaniel have and the way Mike McDaniel talks about him all the time, Be a shock to me if they didn't re-sign him, and it's one of those where I'm not even sure like Mostert goes to the market. I don't know that he can get a huge long-term deal because of his injury history. So if you were to tell me that they announced an extension for him or a new contract for him next week, I wouldn't be surprised in the least. And there could be a couple of other guys like that as well.
Dougie Fresh, our resident smartass.
He hurt me bad last.
Our resident smartass says, Alan, don't you think Tua holding on to the ball too long is like swinging at everything? You know that only works for Vladimir Guerrero.
There you go. There you go. Now we're talking.
Without gloves, by the way.
Without gloves.
You always add that with Vladimir Guerrero. That badass is doing it without gloves. Mm-hmm. And if you don't think that's a big thing, you go ahead and grab a wooden bat and hit a 97-mile-an-hour fastball with no gloves.
It's a guy they used to say about him. He doesn't hit it. He doesn't hit it where it's pitched. He hits it when it's pitched.
Yes, that's it. Doesn't matter.
He would swing at everything. There was a clip of him. He hit a home run. The ball's basically like this far off the ground, and he just golfed it.
I've seen it, and then he yells 4 after that. Yeah, I've seen it.
It was amazing.
He is a freak of all freaks. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. And remember, you become an official Miami Dolphins fan when you bookmark alldolphins.com. So you can get anything and everything this man writes all day long. He writes in his sleep. I'm telling you, he does. He writes in his sleep. He's got like this typewriter there of artificial intelligence. He's just sending it over, and he's just producing articles while he sleeps. Alan, thank you as always, my friend. We will catch up later in the week.
Sounds like a plan, and I'll try to check out Sound City when I get a chance.
Yeah, it's free on YouTube. You can actually check it on YouTube. It's there. They just told me that you can see it on YouTube. So there you go. You don't even need a streaming service.
Excellent.
All right? You got it. Later. There you go. Alan Poupart, baby. And call my guy Eric when you are looking to get work done at EJD Construction, 305-433-4843. A lot of you are running into this issue. You're trying to renew your insurance, your hurricane insurance, and you're finding out, well, wait a minute, they're telling you your house is a little older than 20 years. We need to upgrade your roof. You need to make sure you update it. And guess what? At EJD Construction, they're doing that for a lot of our listeners all throughout Dade and Broward County. So if you live in Dade or Broward, 305-433-4843. Call Eric at ejdconstruction.com.